Hello guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Have you watched the previous one? That is a part 2 of the e-commerce app. I believe you've done that. And today we're going to continue with this. We're going to talk about how to consume this service that you've created as a client service in the Blazor component. Before we jump right into this, thank you so much for taking time to watch videos from this channel. And also, I do offer training sessions for people who are interested. If you want to do that, check the description. I have the mail over there. You can just write me through it. The source code of this project will be available at GitHub, so check the video description and it will be available too. I'll leave all the first and the second video link at the description. So if you haven't watched any of them, please do so because it is a continuation and it's going to help you understand it better. I think so. All right, so now let's jump right into where we stopped the other time, and that is a client service. So the next thing to do here is we're going to design our front page, okay? And with this front page, we need a carousel view. So maybe we can install a SyncFishing component. So right click on dependencies on the client, and I click on manage NuGet packages. And now in there, we're going to install SyncFishing.blazor.navigations. So here, we're going to install SyncFishing.blazor.navigations. So with this package, you need to install that. Aside from this, I would like to use the version of 23.1.36 because I have a key for this, and you can just get a community license key for free. Check, I'll put maybe that video in the video description. Those who don't know how to claim a free license key from the SyncFishing component. Now, aside from this, so let's wait for this to get installed. We check the output. And it is installed now. Now, aside from this, let's also install the Teams package with the same version of 23.1.36. So that is this one. So 231.36. Let's install this. So when we are done installing this, we have to make some references in the index.html by adding the JavaScript file and also the CSS. So we have to do that. After this has installed, we can close this and let's navigate to the index.html. Now here, let's include, that is the JavaScript, this is the Bootstrap theme. And also let's include the JS file in here. Okay, so let's save this. Now let's go to solution. Now in the pages folder, we're going to create one component here and it's going to name it as a front. Let's say, how should you name it? Front page component. So let's add a new component and it's going to be front page component. So with this front page component, we want to have our carousel view in there. But before we do that, we need to create a list of products. So let's handle this. Let's create an instance of a list of products here so we can retrieve the product list from an API. And also, when you go to the import section, we want to inject the interface in there. And now the interface is going to be the I product. So this is going to be I client. So this is going to be instead of I product and now product service. So I product. And instead of using this product service, we can also create as client service. Okay, so client service. Now control period. Let's include the namespace in here. Now let's go back to the front page. So you're going to have access to control period. You're going to have access to our models. Let's save this. Let me close this and open it again. Okay, so it is saved now. It is now working. And the next thing to do here is once you have this list, is we have to create a method to get the data from an API. And in that, we can call this method as retrieve product. So here, this is going to retrieve a product from the API. So you see retrieve product. And now we check if this product contains data, then clear it. If not, then we're going to say that product service, and this is going to be a client service, not product service. So client service dot get all products. Let's have a look with the import section, and now see this client service. And now from here, we paste this, and now it has dot get all product. Okay, so it is the same thing. Now this must be an async, and now wait, let's see what the issue with. It is saying, okay, so we need to specify this. Now here, we want to get featured items. Okay, so maybe you want to get featured items. So you pass in here as true. And it's going to be the featured item. So featured item, we pass in that true to get all featured item. Or maybe we can specify it, let's say featured is true. Will this work? We cannot do this. Okay, so let's pass here as featured. Okay. All right, so it is not advisable to specify something like this, no magic variable. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to say that bool, and here it is saying featured is equal to true. Then let's grab this featured and now paste it here. Okay. Now we return if result is null, then return it. But in case it is not, then we're going to loop through. So instead of with this, we can loop through this result because we've converted this into a list already. So we can say this var I in the result, then product list dot add I. We can just remove this. Okay. So we're going to have a product, and then this is going to be the featured. So featured product. So in here, let's say this is featured product list. Okay, so featured product list. Now with this featured product list, we can just replace it, and I replace it here. So this here is retrieving a featured product list. So featured products. Okay. Now we have this as I speak. Now let's come in and loop through this whilst we display them in a slideshow using this carousel. So we can do that from this container. Let's see. Let me just grab the whole container here so I can just explain, go through with you. So on top here, I'm going to have this. Now let's see. The first one here, it is a featured container. So we are looping through the list. So let's copy this. And on top here, we say if.count is equal to 0, or we're going to say that if.count, if product list.any, we can use this. Let's see if it supports. So .any. Okay. So if it contains any, then what are we doing here? We want to loop through. We want to come here and execute this. Now with this carousel item, Control K, we have to include this namespace. So we include it over here, but we can just cut this and now go to the import and import it here. So we can be using it all the time in the different components. We go back again, and this underlined here must be off. Okay, so let's see if I close this and open it again. I must have that solved. It's still there. Okay, it's going to go. So we have this, and we set this button visibility. We set it to on hover. So if I put the cursor on the carousel, I want to see the forward and on the previous, the next and on the previous button. Animation effect here, we set it to slide. You want to slide it. We have fade, we have slide. You can go in for any one. You can see from here, we have fade, we have a customized one, and you can just use a slide too, because we have slide over here, and that's what we are using. Autoplay is set to true. As soon as the page starts, it should start. Show indicators also to true, so we can have the indicators shown below. Now with this product featured, you want to just pick only 5 and then display them in the carousel. So pick 5 of them. So we order them by the date, and I'll take just 5 of them and I'll display in the carousel. The rest will be displayed in the featured component itself. Okay, now when you open this carousel, we can just create this template, and we see it is just an image. You have this image over here, which are this base default image. We set the weight and the height. you float to an end to display to the is it the right side? Yeah, the right side. And now we set this container into a flexible one. So we see we are centering it, and we set the position at the top to expand it to an end. And here we are, this is just a bootstrap class that I am using in here. As you can see, we have as a paragraph where bound to display the name of the product. You can see this is the name of the product. I'm using the font family of impact, and now there's the CSS class added to that with a text indent of 2. And you can see from here, I'm using this also as a we have superscript and now subscript. So you want to show a superscript of this, the name, if it is a new, the label, and also the quantity. So we have a method known as get new label, and now we pass in the date. So we are checking if the date it is less than or it is less than. Let's see the method. From this get label, we want to check and return a new badge. Okay, so in here we want to return the new badge here. So you can see it is returning a string. We accept the date here, and at the maximum date that is supposed to load from the day that the product was uploaded to be 30 days. During that period, we must have a new tag because the product is new. If it exceeds 30 days, the product must be null. The new tag must be null because it is no more new. It has lasted for 30 days. So we check if you subtract today's date from the day that is uploaded, we convert it into days. If it is less than or equal to this maximum days, it means we want to return new. In case it is not, return null, and that's going to be null, means it's not going to display anything at all. So here you see we call this method in here, and we call it to check if it's going to be new or not. Aside from that, we are checking for the position. Now check from this, it's also a badge that we are using here. Now what is this badge doing? We are checking the product quantity. So we check if the product quantity minus 1 is greater than 0. Meaning maybe if the quantity that you added, maybe if I add one product and the quantity that I have in stock is only 1, then if I subtract 1 from that, it's going to be 0. Meaning this statement is going to be false. In case it is that, then display the product quantity as 1. But in case it is 2, and I subtract 1 from it and becomes 1, it means the 1 is greater than 0. If not, if so, then display the product quantity minus 1 plus. So it means that you want to tell the person that the quantity that we have in stock, it is the quantity minus 1 plus. It means you have more than that. Okay. It is a new feature that I'm adding. You can also decide to create your own. Okay. But it seems you want to tell the person that we have more than 1 plus or more than 2 plus, meaning we have 3. So 2 plus, meaning 2 and upwards, we have it. Now you can see from also here, we're getting the description. Now the description, we don't want to display all the description. We want to substring it to maybe 40 and append dot to it. So we call a method to handle that. And now this method, we're going to have the implementation here to handle that method. And this is going to come from down here. So we accept in the description, and then there's the append dot. So we have 3 dots. The maximum length of the text or that's the description must be 40. We get the length of the current description coming in. We store it over here. So we are saying that if the description length here it is greater than maximum length, that is the 40, then use the length, take a substring of it, 0, and now pick up to 100. Okay, so here's supposed to be 100, I think so, because you are starting from 0 and I'm picking 100. So if the maximum length here must be 100. So if the maximum length it is greater than the length of this, or if the length of this description coming in here greater than the maximum length, it means you have the text about 120 or 150. If so, then pick only 100 and now append the 3 dots to it. So you're going to have 100 characters or 100 text, then, or is it 100 characters? Then you're going to have append 1, 2, 3 as dots to it. It means there's more. But in case it is less than 100, then it means display it in there and do not append any dots. So that is what this also method is doing to get us the description from this area. Okay. Now the rest here is we have a button, and on this button we are using an H tag, horizontal tag as a bootstrap. Gap is 1, and on the flexible here is the center. And we want to have 2 buttons, details and now buy now. So here we are using a font awesome with cat plus, and now buy now. Okay, so for now, we are not implementing any of this. It is just a design that we are creating. And we have this previous button template, and we have next button template. Now, we are using a carousel, so we can specify a template in there. The first template is going to be the child template. So aside from this, we have this previous button template, and now we are customizing our own. I want to use, so I went online and I got some images that I can use for this. So I named them less than and greater than. Okay, so that's what I'm using. And now this template can be found in here in the resources. So I created a folder called resources and I put them in there. So I'm going to copy this solution, and now in the www root folder, I'm going to paste it in here from that. So paste it, and now that is a resources folder. So if I open this, we have this greater than, you can see, and we have less than. Okay, so this is what I have. And aside from that, we are showing them here, and we set the height and then the width. We set the style color, and we set, when you come to the style, we set this to let's see, this is a style. You want to use pointer to handle that. So we come here and now we have to create a style for this. So style, and now we use this pound key and we say cursor. This cursor, you want to have it as pointer. So as soon as you point the mouse on those images, that's the less than or the previous and the next, you want to show as a pointer in there. And now there is an indicator template. So with these indicators, we are creating a class and a name as indicators. So with this indicator, you want to customize our own indicator. Okay, so we can do that, and with the class of it's going to be the indicator. So let's go. This we're going to be using this somewhere else. So I prefer we put all this. Okay, so we remove this, and now you go to the app.css. That's the general one, and I'll put them there. So the same CSS. You can see we have this app.css. Now down here, let's try to include this here. So we go back, and I'm going to have that classes set, and we can just paste them in there. So in here, let's have our custom. So let's say this is our custom styles. So I can just comment this. Now down here, I'll paste this. Now all this that you see here, it is from the Syncfusion. So if you want to customize the indicator, you can use this class to do that. So that is what I made of. And here is the star cursor. So you can see we have this cursor as pointer, and we have star buttons also set this border to radius to 0. So these buttons are called here. So star buttons, when you check this front component, when you check our button section from this angle, we have these two buttons here, and now we have this buy now, and also go to details. From this, we have ID as star button. So you want to set them into a block form. That's a button shape. And that's what we are doing in here. If you are not able to type everything, don't worry. I'll put it at the GitHub. So you can just go in there and clone it. Okay. It will be there waiting for you patiently. Okay. So we have our featured tags done completely. And I think we are good to go now. Now, what we need to do next here is we have to configure our layout. So let's go to the same section, the client, and now the same layout, because we have this main layout. And now in that main layout, we want to override it, and we want to remove all the default one. So here, we replace it with this. We have to create a navigation bar from this section. Okay, so navigation bar is going to be a component that you're going to create. Now with this, you're going to use a Bootstrap class to handle that. When you go to Bootstrap documentation, you're going to have access to a list of navigation bars. You can just copy any of them, and that's what I use to create this navigation bar. So solution, we create a component in this layout, and I'll name it as navigation bar. Now you can see this is a Bootstrap class that I'm using from a Bootstrap. As you can see from here, just a button, nav toggle, as you know already in the Bootstrap, it is there. The code is there. What I did was I changed the home, product, and our services, testimonial, and our contact. Okay, that's all thing that I did in it. This is a default one for account, and now you're going to be changing this later on. Now the next button here, it is show search icon. I have this search component created. That is, if I want to show or hide search icons, what can I do? So you can see we have this button, and this button means search clicked. So if I click on this is just an icon, and you can see it's a magnifying glass from a font awesome. And if I click on this icon, I want to set this show search to true, and I set this show search icon to false. Okay, so I have the implementation here over here. Now defaultly, show search icon is true when you run the page. When this is clicked, you want to set the show search here to true. So this is show search. This is set to true, and now show search icon must set to the opposite of this. That's going to be the false. So two of them cannot have the same state. One must be the opposite of the another one, and that is this one. Okay, now let's create this search component. So maybe if you don't know where to grab this, I'll put the documentation, the link to this specific reference, this navbar in the description. So you can just click on it, go to the Bootstrap docs, and then grab it for free. Now let's have a look at this search component. So you have to create a component known as search component, and now this search component is going to handle all search. So here we create one component, now name it as search component, and it's just a form. Deflex, we have a search text box, and we have a button. Okay, so that's a button, and as you can see, that is it. All right, I think we are almost done, but one thing that we need to do here is to create our featured section. Okay, but for now, let's run it and see. So this is what you need to do. We go back to the home.razor, and now within the home.razor, we need to include our front component. Since we are done handling that, let's check our solution, then go to home.razor, and now here let's remove everything. Let's paste this here. This is our front page. Save this. So inside of this, it must be a client service. So in my client service, they're gonna have add product. Okay, then we want to now, before we jump to that, you will see we check it. If it is true, then set this dialog values, set success, and now set over here. If it is false too, then display the response that is coming from the server, and now show the dialog box. Okay, after that, return. And now let's check. So from this section, from where we have our front page here, we call this method, but we did not call it when the page initializes, right? So to do that, we need to specify. Okay, so it is now, we've changed the method name. So this one in the program.cs, that is the client section. Take note. Now here, you can register the component anywhere. Okay, so let's register this and control period. Okay, so it's been added already. Now let's see. So let's save this. So we go to the solution, and where we have this www folder, we're going to create a new folder, name it as JS. So we open this, and now with this, we create this dialog.js. So this is a simple method. We have www, this JS, and it is called dialog.js. And in that dialog, that is what we are having, dialog.js. So we are having this method. So this is not what we want for now, so we can remove all this method. Okay, now we need only this. So window.show dialog, and now we want to grab the div element which has an ID, and now show this model. Okay, so that's what we are doing. So in the index folder, you can see now we've added the JavaScript for the dialog, so we have to reference it in our application. Okay, so down here, let's reference it here. So we just have to go in there, and now we have to drag the dialog.js, and now paste it in here. Okay, so this is all that we need to do. Now let's save this, and let's run the application and see what we have now. So as the page loads, let's first check if the JavaScript file that we created for the dialog box has been downloaded into the browser. We can do that from this, going to the developer tools, and in here, click on the application, and you can see where we have the frames, come to the top, click on the top one. Next, we have scripts. So click on it, and you can see we have our dialog.js, and this is the simple method that we have. We're going to call it. That's right. Now we have this ready. Let's navigate to That is the add product. And now in here, we are going to add product and see the next thing that's going to happen. So we have this, and as you know, I have this that I can, let me just copy this. I have an Apple Pro 15 like this, the same thing. Okay, so instead of this Pro Max, I think this has been added already. Or we can just go back to the app where we have a product table. You can see we can highlight all these and then delete them. So let's delete. Let's delete this as well. Now, when you refresh this, I think you are not having any record again. Okay, so we have extra records. Let's remove everything in it. Refresh it. So save this, refresh this, and it is empty now. Okay. So we go back to the app, then Apple Pro Max. Let's specify the size or the price. Okay. Now the quantity, it is 25. We have a description, and we're going to specify the description in here. Okay, so now the description that I just copied and pasted. Okay, so it tells you the battery and the camera, the display, and etc. performance. Now let's choose an image for this, and I'm going to choose maybe this image. Now click on save and processing. So please wait. Let's see. Good. So you can see now we have notification, product saved, right? And you can see we have okay. So I click on OK, and it is now off. So we are done. If I click on it again, it's still going to happen. You see processing, and I stop. You see we have a notification product exists, and the button here, it is danger. So this is a dynamic dialog element that we have implemented. Okay, let's add another one. We want to add 2. So Apple 14. You can just change this to 14. You can maintain the same price here. Let's say this is 5. The quantity, it is 20. Okay, 20 here. Let's make that 1. Then let's see. So let's choose image here. And this Apple 14. Or let's use this. Save this. So saved. Now let's go to localhost. So let's see the main display now and see what we have now. You can see now we have 2 items. And the 2 items that we have, we did not specify as a Boolean expression. We did not specify as a feature. So we have nothing in here, right? Now let's go to the app again in here. Let's refresh this. And now let's set this to true. Featured. So we set this to true. And set this also to true. Now let's save this. Refresh this up. And now in here, let me just go to inspect element. And let's go to the network tab. Let's refresh it. Now let's see if a product call will be made here to retrieve it. So network. Okay. So let's see. We have the data in here. And you see we have our less than greater than images. And when you check this, we have our font shop, right? We have our product here, and the feature is true. So when you go to preview, you will see we have the 2 items in here, and that is what we have. You can see now we have the icon. Check here. You can see this is 1. Have you seen? So this is 1. It means it is. You have the quantity here. It is 1. So it did not add the plus. Let's wait for the next one to see. So the next one, you can just okay. So you can see here you have plus because here it is 25 minus 1 making 24 plus. It means more than 24. This is a description, and in case it is more than 100, append dot with, and that's what we have. So you can see we have this and the customized indicator that we created. You can see we have this over here, and these are the images that we copied. You can see as soon as I hover the mouse on, it turns to that is this an icon, as you can see from this. But if I click on this account, you see I'm not seeing the pop-up because we did not install this the bootstrap. Yes, I never forgot bootstrap. Yeah, the bootstrap. So now you've seen that this is working. The next to do here is let's install that component. So let's close it. So let's go to solution, Now in the www, that is the CSS or www root folder, right click on this. Let's click on add client side library. And in here, we're going to type in Bootstrap, I think 5.6. That's the current version, 5.3.2. So let's have to install. We are installing into the target location of the www root folder. And in that, you're going to create a folder for Bootstrap and now install. So let's wait for this session to get restored in here for us. You can see this running this to get it installed. All right, so it seems like we have it already here. So we go to the CS file and now let's navigate to the index. So in here, you can see we have a default Bootstrap here. So we're going to remove this default Bootstrap and let's include the new one that we have just added. So Bootstrap, you want to use the minified version. So here, let's drag this to this session. And you want the minified one, so let's remove the second one because you don't need that. And now let's include the JavaScript file too. Maybe you can put it down here. And that to be found in the JS JavaScript. And now you want the bundle.js. So include that too. And now you want to use the minified one. So let's remove the rest. Save this. Let's run this and see. So I've added some images in here, some product in here. Now, when you check because I have about 10 or so, but since we are taking only 5, because when you check this front page component, you know, we are taking only 5 from here. The list that we have, we take only 5. And we did that from, let's see where we are using that. That is the front page. So from the carousel, let's see. Okay, so you can see that we are looping through and we are taking only 5 out of them. And that is the reason why you see I have a lot, but I'm seeing only 5 here. Now the next here it is, how do you display the rest as a featured item down here? Let's have a look on how to do that. So let's close this and let's go to application. Now in the pages folder, we are going to create one component and it's going to be a featured product component. So featured product component. It is here. This is what we are doing. We are using this div container fluid and margin top as 5 to give enough space on top. We have a horizontal line to separate it. And we have this as featured text on top. And you know, here we are customizing to my font. So where from this font, I just downloaded a font from the internet. And now let me just grab this font. You go to the Solution Explorer. In the www folder, I open it and now let me paste it here. It's in the folder called font. What is the name of this font? That is this. It is just a vermin.ttf, so true type format. So this is a font style that I've created. And now with this, you have to register this or you have to link this font with the application. So we're going to create a class. This is going to be a CSS isolation. We don't want this class to load for all the entire application. You want to isolate it and now load when the that's a header component, that's the navigation component has been loaded. So we go to the folder where we have our pages. And you know, this is the pages. You can see we have this layout. We have our navigation bar.razor. So we're going to create a class, a CSS class, and I'll name it as navigation bar razor.css. So it is there even already. I've added it already, as you can see, navigation bar.razor.css. And now in that, you can see that we're adding the font face. The family name here, it is what my font. And now you can see we have the source here, and it's the font folder. And I'll go to a file called vermin.ttf. And at the top bar, we want to set the font style to this my font. And our text align, we set to center. So this is CSS installation. It's going to load as soon as this component also get loaded to the application. Okay, so now we have this. I think our view is going to change. You can just test this up quickly, and I'll check it out. All right, so you can see that we have it applied to the header in here, and that is exactly what you can see from this header, from the home app to this account. Now, if I click on this, because I have this pop-up because we have linked the JavaScript or the bundle.js file from the Bootstrap that we installed. So our drop down also working here. Okay, now let's go back and check how to work with the featured item. So we go back again, and now in here from the featured product component that we created, you know, what we did here was we just have to copy what we have in the front page, because actually you don't have to copy it because we're not going to use a carousel for now. This is what we are doing. We have just a div class, a container fluid, and we have this. So you see, we are returning a featured product here. Now this featured product, we have this button as a previous button click, and it's the same less than that we are using. We have down here as a greater than, and it's the same next button. So we are implementing our skip and take ourselves. Now here we are checking that if the featured item, if it has any, okay, then we're going to create a card with this and check if the card date is less than today's date. If item.date updated, okay, so add days, so add days, we want it to last for 30 days, okay, it is less than datetime.now, so meaning that it has expired, datetime.now. So if the date in there it is less than this, it means the date has expired. But in case it is not, I want to display this. All right, so this is what we can do. If it is less than today's date, meaning you don't want to display anything, but if it is greater than today's date, then you want to display new. So if it hasn't expired, or if it expires, then display just a badge, okay, and then the badge returns nothing. There's nothing here. In case it is not, then display new. I'll display an empty badge. And now the next thing, display an image, and with the image, set the source to this item image. This is the height, and now this is the width. And also we want to have these styles max width and the minimum width attached to it. We have a product cover. This is going to be for product cover, and we set this the background color for this, and we also display the item name. Now you see we set as a class here child image. Now what are we doing with the child image? When you come down here, you can see that from the child image we have this product cover. This is a div class. We set the width, the font size, the height, the border radius, and etc. so we can display the name of the item in it. Now if it is hovered, you want to set the opacity to 1. But in case the whole image itself is being hovered, then the whole image defaultly we set the opacity to 1, the cursor as pointer. In case this child image here is hovered, then you want to set the opacity to 0.5. Now this is a child image, so any of the image that's going to be rendered from this for each loop is going to have maybe a class which is going to be assigned to any of the image child image. Now when that image is being hovered, you want to set the opacity to 0.5, that is the half of it. Okay, so it becomes like blur or so. But in case it is not, if the mouse out, then display as 1, the full 1. Okay, so that's what we are doing, very simple one. Now the next thing is how to implement the next button and then the skip previous button. We need to use skip and tick. So here with the code section, we have a list of product list, and maybe this could be a featured list. And when we run the application, we are calling this method, which is going to call the API from that's our server, return a list of products. From here we set the feature to true because we want to grab all featured items, and here we don't even need to loop to convert this to a list because it is not an R enumerable, so we can straightly use this and loop through this. Okay, and I'll set it to add it to this product list. Aside from that, then you want to load data, so where from this load data. Now when you check the definition for this load data, it is over here. You're going to apply the skip and tick. Now we set the page size, so the number of items or image that you want to display per is going to be the page size, that is 8. Currently if I skip, the current value here is 0, tick is 8, so skip page size is 8, skip 8, and I'll take 8. So we create a list of featured product list. Now with this is what we are doing. We are getting the whole product list that has been rendered over here, then skip the current skip, that is the 0, and I'll take the current tick, that is 8, convert to a list, and I'll give it to this get data. Now when you have that, increase this skip. This skip here, it is the counter, that is 0. Increase it by 8, that's the page size, because you've taken 8, then get a current skip count here. Now check if the featured product has data, clear it, loop to the list that we have in here, and I'll display it. That's to load data. So this method gets loaded as soon as the page initializes, and the retrieve product for getting from the API has been occurred or processed. Now the next thing here is to, if I click on the previous and the next button, what should happen? Here we are checking that if skip is equal to 8, then return. Why returning? Because defaultly, as soon as the page loads, skip is going to be 8. Default skip is 0. As soon as the page loads, it's going to add plus 8 to it, page size, making 8. So if skip is 8, meaning it has loaded the default first 8. We don't need to go back, we don't need to go forward. Okay, so previous, we can't go to previous because it's 8, and that's the current one. But you can go to the next one. Now, if previous is clicked and it is not equal to 8, then we are going to get the next product by product list.skip. It's going to skip this page. The current value that we have for the skip, we're going to multiply the page times 2 from the skip, and to remove it, and I'll take the next 8. So if it is 24, this 8 times will be 16. So it's equal to 24. Then come back to 8. Then 8 is going to pick the next 8. That's going to be the previous one. Then we also do the same thing. We clear, we loop through, and we add. When next is clicked, then we check. So if they skip the current value of the skip that we have, it is greater than the product list. It means we have to return because there's no data again. Else we're going to skip it, and I'll take. Skip the current skip, and I'll take the tick, that is an 8. Add to the page size, and I'll loop through it, and I'll add it. Okay. Now that's what we are doing. This is in part. Can clear this. And from this featured list, that is what we are looping through from this angle, featured list. Now, once you're done with this, the next thing to do here is we go to the home page, and we are going to create a column class of 12 and display this in there. So down here, we can make it as MD of 12 as empty 5. That's the margin top 5 to create a vast space from here to this. Call this component, and now let's run this application and see what we have now. Well, and you can see that it has now worked. So you can see we have it in here. We have these icons. Now, currently, if I click on the, nothing happens because there's no, the current skip here, it is 8. So there's no previous one, and I can't go forward. I can't go back. But if I click on this, what happened? I can now pick the next one. And if I click on it again, you see nothing also happens because the count of this is now greater than the skip count is greater than the product list because it added 8 plus 8 making 16. Why this not also 16? Okay, so there's an 8 plus 3, this is almost 11. So it is greater and it's not going to move forward. Now see, if I click on backward, it's going to subtract the 8 from it, and I can now go back again. If I click on it again, you see nothing happens, and now this is working. If I hover the mouse, you can see it turns to, the opacity here is 0.5. If I remove the mouse, it turns to 1. Check this is the product container. You can see we have it set over here nicely, and we have the product name displayed in here. You can add a lot of stuff in here if you want to do that as well. Okay, so that is this what we need to do for now. The next thing we're going to talk about here is we're going to implement the whole list of items with categories. We're going to have product categories. We move on by add product to cart, and do a whole lot of stuff in it. But for now, I'll rest here, and thank you so much for watching this. I believe you're able to do the same thing as we are now. Check the description. I'll put the GitHub link over there. You can just go in there and I'll clone it and also go through with it. If you want to buy me a coffee to support this channel, please, I'll be glad to also accept it. Check the description too. I have the link over there waiting for you. Thank you for taking time, having patience to follow this channel and watching this video too. And I'm going to catch you up in the next video.